closed communities and systems. 3.0, anybody can use it, completely open. Prevalent trust level, well, if it's a closed community, you can, it was a research community, people could trust each other, high trust. Internet 3.0, anybody can use it, trust is low. So if you have environment which is highly trusted, you can use no security services or weak security services, because the risk is very small in a highly trusted situation. Here, the reverse. You cannot use weak or no security services. And for Internet 1.0, if we had low trust situations for a given subsystem, we would just design for it a trust management subsystem that would support just this small thing. It was like patching the system with a low trust patches. For Internet 3.0, I believe that we need system-wide trust foundation. I already said that. If we have this overall foundation of trust, it will be easier to establish a trust value for any new user, either human or artificial. It will be easier to keep it consistent and fair. It will be easier to perform trust management, like, for example, calculating the overall trust value based on first-hand and second-hand information. And it will be easier to extend to cooperate better, because the trust relationships will be more dense, so less obstacles to cooperation can be established. I want to present here like a basic reference model for a trust foundation. And actually, if you look at the ISO layers of networking, you could say that, okay, in future internet we will have pervasive trust foundation. Here we have security services on the same foundation, and of course each of the security services can potentially serve each of the layers. Now, maybe one thing to mention is that confidentiality, integrity, availability, those three, CIA, this is a classic definition of not trust but security. I made a mistake here. So when people defined security years ago, they would say security is confidentiality plus integrity plus availability. Since then, we have seen at least 2 more extensions. Here is alternative view of a basic reference model. Actually, that's the one presented at a summit. I miss here a reference. Instead of layers, we have those generic levels of that you can identify in the system: hardware, operating system, network, application, and user. Now, I hinted at that we need to distinguish trust in the small from trust in the large. The former supports individual security services or small groups, maybe 2 or 3 services. Trust in the large is meant to support all security services or many of them, a large group. Basically, I say, okay, so trust in the large really is what I have called moments ago, Pervasive Trust Foundation. You might say that it's equal, or you might say that Pervasive Trust Foundation is one of the ways looking at trust in the large. I do the former, I put the equal sign. Whenever we deal with trust, we have 2 entities that are involved: service provider and service consumer. There must be trust relationship one way and the other. We might say that we might try to model the service provider would receive service request, would evaluate the risk and benefit of providing service, would get the trust rating for the requestor, and would make the decision accept or decline. There are some cases where it's easy to make the decision, very easy. If I'm a service provider and my benefit is 0, I would say, go somewhere else. okay? If I'm commercially minded, okay? Not altruistically. If there is no risk and benefit is even very small but positive, I'll say yes. And there are a few other things that it's pretty, here is a table that we have 3 levels, 0, low, high. And, in some cases, it's very easy to make the decision. As you see, out of 9 cases, 2 cases are, well, context dependent, not so easy to decide. Other 7 seem to be easy to decide by the service provider. Service consumer, here's the model of a service consumer. Service consumer has certain need for security, has a number of possible services available to him, evaluates risk-benefit using a given service, their trust, and makes a decision whether to select a given service or not. Now, so these are simple models of using trust by the requestor, the consumer and the provider. Trust can be used to enhance producing and consuming messages for every security service group. I say group because there are a few services in confidentiality, a few in integrity, and so on. So each of those represents a certain group of security services. We can look, security services are supported by security or realized, implemented through security mechanisms. So, for example, if you have Pervasive Trust Foundation, here you have integrity services or integrity group of services, integrity service group. They can support any of the layers. There is here a certain entity that looks like this. You have integrity security service, which is supported, implemented by using integrity security mechanism specific to support this integrity. And this integrity security mechanism, if we want to, uses some trust in the small number 1 in a piecemeal fashion. And you might have another, small white block in somewhere here or here or here, a lot of them. Each one might have its own TIS. Well, in our model, we want all those TISs, those trust in the small, we want all of them to relate to TIL, trust in the large. Here are my claims. And this is, of course, highly debatable. You might disagree. I would be very happy to hear about your arguments against and for. Okay? Some people dismiss saying, oh, having a trust foundation, I'm so tired about hearing about trust, probably because they've heard about 100 different trust in the small solutions. Okay? And they are tired of trust in the small. And that's why don't they appreciate trust in the large? Because they think it's the same thing. They confuse the things. So, well, that will be the actual next claim. But the first one is that security, if you don't use trust as your basis of a foundation, basically what you want, if you say, no, I don't want to use trust at all, you would say, you want to build security despite of trust. Instead, I propose, hey, maybe you should have security thanks to or because of trust, not despite or without. This is what I have mentioned, kind of, talking about the example for the previous case, I jumped to this one. Many people confuse trust in the small with trust in the large, and that's why they deny the need for Pervasive Trust Foundation. They are tired of those TISs. Too many TISs. Oh, another one, forget it. Well, it's not TIS, it's an overall thing. So TIL will be the focus, is the focus of this presentation, is the focus of this presentation. Of course, we also will mention TIS. What are the use choices for pervasive trust? You can use it either consciously or ignore it, well, in a kind of, unconscious way. If you use it consciously, you can use it explicitly, considering a trust level, or implicitly. You might say, well, I know that this is a highly trusted environment. I can use this service. I don't have to calculate the trust degree. This is trusted. I have a lot of evidence, a lot of, kind of even gut feeling as a designer that I don't need to deal with calculating trust level. I just use trust implicitly, maybe just